Bonehead. Bonk. Ow. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we're taking a look at another Legacy figure. This is Skullgrin. Now Skullgrin here is based on a Generation 1 character, some of you might remember. Here is his Generation 1 robot appearance, because Skullgrin was also a pretender. For the benefit of those of you who may have missed the videos that I've done earlier in the Legacy line on Bombburst and Iguanas, the Pretender line was one that was brought into the Transformers universe in 1988. The original series of Pretenders, which Skullgrin here is a part of, just like the others that have been released so far have been. The original idea with the Pretenders was that they gave us not only the robot, but we also got this plastic shell that the robot could transform and be put inside of. Unfortunately, a lot of the lore at the time that these were released kind of left it vague as to a lot of the purposes behind the shells were. The More Than Meets the Eye guidebooks, which unfortunately are out of print, but if you're a Transformer fan, especially of the Generation 1 era, I highly recommend you track them down and read them. They're very interesting. Gives a little more backstory on the Pretender shells, in the fact that the shells also had some other uses, and each one's use varied depending on the robot. Skullgrin here functioned for the Decepticons as a siege warrior. So he knew the best he was apparently very good at his job, because he knew exactly how to breach the defenses for any Autobot installation, or any other installation that the Decepticons would want to take. However, him being a brainy warrior turned out to be something the Decepticons didn't want with him very much. So they implanted a special program into his Pretender shell that turns him into a savage monster. So he instead loses all of his collected intelligence on tactics and such, and becomes a berserk, unstoppable monster. How this better suits the Decepticon cause is beyond me, but I would think they would appreciate having somebody that at least was a decent tactical warrior. But at any rate, that at least gives us a little more insight into the shell and its purpose. At least for Skullgrin, anyways. If you want to know more about some of the other shells, do take a look at some of my other videos. At any rate here, the modern Skullgrin here, it's a hybrid of the shell and the robot. And it doesn't, like the others, it doesn't look bad. The biggest gripe that I have with it at the moment is the fact that Skullgrin is a Deluxe class figure, whereas Iguanas and Bombburst are Core class figures. Why they felt Skullgrin here needed a bigger toy is beyond me. But at least with him, we do have quite a few play options with him, and we will show those off here. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at his accessories. We're going to start with the ones in his hands. he has a pair of gun blades. As you can see, there is an opening at the end, so it is meant to be a gun. When he's holding it like this, he can use it as a gun. But he also has another spot where he can use it as a sword. So, I mean, we'll put it back in his hand the different way and spread your arms out a little. And hey, you can see he's got a gun and a sword for whenever anybody wants to get up close with him. It's an interesting idea, and rather nice that you have the options with him, since like you saw with the shell, he did come with a sword, but he also came with 2 guns. Now, we have this unit here on his back as another accessory. This is actually a 3-piece accessory because he has a left side gun, a right side gun, and these do remove. And then you have this backpack unit, which forms a tail, which we will plug the tail back in because we don't need it at the moment. But let's show off some other attack options that you can use with it. So if you do decide that you want to mix things up, we'll take the gun blades out of his hands and turn him around to mount them here on his tail. And then the guns can be connected to his shoulders. And there we have it. We got something that looks like he's ready to go blasting some aerial bots. Which kind of looks pretty wicked. But we still got more options here. Take the guns out and put the guns in his hand. Take the blades out of his back. And then place them in the shoulders. And now he's really looking fierce. I kind of like this mode. This one's my favorite. It's a nice way to display him, and he definitely looks like he's ready for a fight. Okay, to transform Skullgrin, the first thing we got to do is the gun blades have to go, and he does need his backpack unit reattached, and the 2 guns need to be on it. Now, first of all, we should do the articulation, then transform him before I forget. Alright, for his articulation, his head can turn from side to side, and the head is on a ball joint, so it will look up and down. Almost perfect yes man. His arms can raise out to the side, about so far. And you can rotate his arm at the shoulder all the way. You can bend his arm at the elbow, a little greater than 90 degrees. And he does have a swivel at the bicep. Yes, as you notice, his horns can be articulated as well, but that was more done to store him, and it's more for transforming than anything else. He does twist at his hips. If you get the tail, you'd have to have it perfectly balanced for it to be perfect, but it does rotate, he does twist there. You can spread his legs apart. Only about so far, due to the fact that these side pieces here, which are meant to invoke the look of the shell's belt, kind of get in the way. So that's unfortunate. He does have, though, a good thigh cut, so you can really get his legs twisted around if you wish. You can raise his leg up at the hip just under 90 degrees. And you can bend his leg at the knee 90 degrees. Again, the painted belt tends to get in the way. Alright, now to transform Skullgrin. We come around to his backside. You're going to take the tail on his backpack and you will fold it up like so. And while we're back here, you will also take his hands and fold them inwards. Then come back here and raise the guns out a bit. Before we come around front, and you're going to twist his arms at the bicep so that they face inward. Like that. Then we'll come up here to his head, and you're going to fold in his horns. Then we will raise his head up because we're going to open up his chest. Now, of course, with his chest opened, we can rotate everything at the shoulders to get his body looking somewhat like this. And I want you to come here inside his chest, and you'll use this piece to slide his arms down. Take it all the way so it locks. Then once you've done that, then you can fold his arms in, and they should connect right there. Just exactly like that. Then they're going to want you... We need to adjust the head a little bit here because it's jammed. Get the head down a bit so it goes around. Then you can fold this panel, close the chest back up. There we go, got it closed. Then they want you to take the body section, fold it down like that, and then you will fold the legs only, not the hip, the legs, straight out. Like that. Of course, back here on his arms, make sure the arms also connect to these posts protruding out the back piece. That way they don't fall in the way. Once you got the legs in place, turn him over. Because we're going to take these tread sections in his legs, and you're going to raise them up. Then, of course, once you've done that, go ahead and separate the tread and extend it upwards. So once you got the treads up, like that, come down here. You're going to fold his feet inward, like that. And then, now we're going to come around here. You're going to shift the leg covers so they go forward a bit. You'll see under in here, there's a little notch here. And that's going to line up, be shifted up to connect to these posts right here at his hip. Right at the top of his thighs. There we go. The legs can also be connected as well. So then once you've gotten that done, come back here to the treads, turn them so they are facing outward. And then you will fold this section down. As you'll see in here, there's a little groove here underneath this hole. That should connect onto his legs. And then the treads also have a post, and that should connect to the opening on the arms. We knocked the tailpiece off, but that's okay. We'll get it reattached here in a second. Alright, once that's in place, plug this back in. And that's his basic tank mode. But to go along with it, they recommend that you plug in the gun blades right here at the front of the tread so that he becomes a quad cannon tank. Since he has 2 barrels up here, and then you got 2 running along the sides. Now, of course, some of you might be going, "Hey, Sparkster, that looks pretty stupid." Well, it certainly does. But then again, that's what he looked like in the Generation 1 era. He was pretty much the same thing. A quad-barreled tank. But since the Generation 1 robot was built to also be folded to go inside this, it limited what they could do with the design. So they had to get crafty with many of them, which is why the original Pretenders are always so harshly criticized. Only a few of them really dared to do something different, and while Skullgrin certainly did something different, didn't come out looking that great. This one may not be a whole lot better than his original, but you at least can rotate the turret. So he has that going for him. Getting down to my thoughts, I do like the updates that have been done to Skullgrin. The figure is considerably better than his Generation 1 counterpart. I mean, I'm still somewhat on the fence about hybridizing the shell with the robot, but I'm starting to be won over by it. It at least makes them stand out and look different a little bit better. Since in the original Generation 1 era, many of the Pretender robots didn't really have enough to make them stand out and look different to each other. So this little guy here does at least have that going for him by making him look different. I mean, the vehicle mode still needs work. It still looks terrible. But it does pay homage to where it came from, and it is considerably better looking than the original one, since the modern design and not having to fit inside a plastic shell affords it a little better of a look. That, and as I said, I do like his robot mode, and you do have all the different options of him and his weapons. So this is definitely one that should be up on the shelf, because you got all sorts of choices on how you display him. At any rate, that's my look at the Legacy version of Skullgrin. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now remember that if you do like the content that we feature here on this channel, please do remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.